Okay, well, you know what, I happen to be I have a huge number of books at home, and if you go through my bookshelf, unfortunately, being a bit of a dork, most of them are sci-fi and fantasy books. I read loads and loads and loads of them. And today I've got another one to add to my collection.
Fiction, yeah.
Yes, Dragonfire Hammer. And we've actually got the very clever young author of Dragonfire Hammer.
All 13 years old, okay?
Yes, here in the studio with us today.
Good morning, Adam Umemoto.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, a nice name. So welcome to the Breakfast Show. Looking very spiffy for a 13-year-old.
Thank you.
Now you're in school still. You're in grade
grade 8.
Okay, but you've written this monster of a book.
Really impressive.
It's pretty thick, actually, I have to say, as far as books go. Now, tell us a little bit about the book, first of all.
Well, the book's generally about, it's basically about the humans and their allies, the orcs and the elves.
Okay, so it's set in a fantasy sort of a world thing.
Yeah, it's set in a fantasy world. And,
okay.
And basically it's about them going against the evil forces and, you know, the demons.
So it's a classic epic struggle, good versus evil, and you've got all the sort of fantasy staples, elves, dwarves.
Oh, I have to include dwarves, so that'll be my next
No dwarves
one.
in them. Oh, that's terrible.
How did you get your inspiration, though? How did you come up with the inspiration?
Well,
you sat there one day?
I generally play a lot of video games. I read a lot of fantasy books, and I love the genre of fantasy. So what I usually do is I, you know, just read the books, get the ideas,
and then get inspired by them, right? You know what? It's funny because people who do read fantasy books, fantasy authors have an amazing gift, and I always think this is quite interesting. People always say, fantasy books are a bit rubbishy, but you create a whole world, and there's something about that. I mean, most people who write set it in our world, right?
Yeah.
But when you write a fantasy novel, you actually have to create a whole new a planet practically and everything. I mean, how do you go about doing that? Did you just sort of sit down there with a big sheet of paper and think, okay, I want this to be here? And
well, I actually had a plan in the beginning, but the product was a lot different from what it actually started with, because I had originally planned it, but then
that's what it's called, creative process. It's organic.
So, I mean, it was really fun throughout the process because it's a world of my own, you know, I can manipulate it in any way I want. So that's what I love about free writing and having, you know, to do anything you can. So.
Now, funny enough, I know a lot of people, I mean, you play a game, for those of you who are out there maybe don't know this one, it's called World of Warcraft. I happen to play that as well, but human rogues go. But the interesting thing, of course, is that a lot of people give it a lot of bad press. They say kids play these games, they rot their minds, you know, they never amount to anything, they don't do any schoolwork, they never read.
They spend hours and hours and hours in their bedroom,
That's right.
So did you have that kind of grief from your parents?
Well, not really, because basically, you know, you just need to know how to control yourself. You know, you need to spend time with your friends, do your work. Basically, just keep everything and do like everything, you know, in check. Basically, to have good time management is basically what you need.
Well, obviously, you've you know, proven
you've channeled it in the right way,
because you come up with this really thick book. And how did you come up with the Dragonfire Hammer title?
Oh, it's basically it's the name of the artifact that the main character actually has, and he discovers it, and it becomes his in the story. So. Yeah, you're going to have to read to find out more.
Of course. Okay, right. But of course, you know, I mean, it's not just about setting and about artifacts and things as well. I mean, it's also, I know there's a bit of a love story in there as well.
Yeah, there's a bit of a love story in there.
There's a lot of, you know, sort of heroism and war and emotions as well. You know, I mean, how does somebody, and I know this sounds horribly patronizing, and I've had this quite, you know, I mean, people always throw this around, but how does somebody who's, you know, sort of, you know,
all of
13 or, you know, or so.
Can come up with, you know, such ideas.
Well, you know,
did you base the love story on something in real life, or do you have your own elven princess tucked away somewhere?
Hopefully. I mean, just, you know, but I still have to meet her. But anyways, you know, I just like, basically, I just like, you know, look like everyday things I encounter, just include them in the story. You know, like maybe like in school today, like I met a few friends and include their characteristics inside the story.
Right, so you're basic. So hang on a second. So, some of the characters are based on your friends.
Somewhat, but
so like, your friends have they read? Have they seen, you know, part of writing?
Well, when they come over to my house, they
try to guess which one they are.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, they just come over and they just like, oh, that seems a bit like someone.
Me?
So I take it you sort of they were your guinea pigs, right, for the.
Sort of. I mean, it's fun to use them. I mean,
They had
like
to read through all the bits
Yeah.
and see how it was.
Yeah.
Now, there must be a lot of parents and also, you know, sort of guys like yourself, your age, wanting to know how did you actually, you know, just tell us the process of you coming up with this book. You know, how did you write it? You set aside certain hours during the day to write it?
Oh, yeah. During the week, because I still go to school, so during the weekdays I would focus a lot on my schoolwork and such, but during the weekends, so Saturday morning is the time I usually spend my time writing the book, and it took me a year because I usually spend my time writing Saturday morning like about 3 pages, and then it's about 3 pages a week.
So that was your target, 3 pages a week?
Yeah, but then as I progressed throughout the process of writing the book, I went on to 5 pages and 7 pages just to...
Ramping it up a bit, yeah. So did you have an initial sort of a roadmap for it, or like a big plan of where you wanted the story to go, or did you just sort of just keep writing it? Just, okay, and then this happens, and then this happens? Or?
Like, I had my original plan, but then the product is so different compared to the actual thing.
Was that because of editors or people giving you feedback, or was it just because the characters took on a life of their own and went their own way?
Yeah, the characters kind of took on a life of their own because, I mean, you have their original, you know, who they're supposed to be, but when you go throughout the book and you actually start writing it, there's so much things you can include, so much things you can add that, you know, it just completely changes who they are.
So your draft, did you show it to anyone, your parents perhaps, or your friends?
My friends, they would occasionally sneak onto my computer, start...
So they were your harshest critics, yeah?
Yeah, there you go.
Did they say to you, oh, you must change this, you cannot write it this way, and then you must have another character?
No, they're pretty supportive, you know,
Really?
they're like, oh, like, that's really interesting, I really want to read the book, and so, I mean, I appreciate everyone's, you know, feedback and help and everything, but I think I have to say I got the help from my dad the most.
Oh, your dad,
Yeah.
all right,
Wow.
because a lot of teenagers, you know, they want to hide things from their parents, they're embarrassed to show their parents their handiwork, but you had no problems with that?
Not really, because, I mean, he's a really supportive guy, so...
Does he read fantasy books and things as well, or...?
He reads actually many different types of books, and he actually does play Warcraft too.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, he does.
Awesome,
Right,
that's good
okay.
stuff. So just quickly, I mean, who are some of your favourite authors? I mean, people like David Eddings and stuff like that, or...?
Well, I do have like a few, like, I'm not sure if you know Cornelia Funke. That was one of my first books. She wrote Dragon Rider and Inkheart and things like that. So, and there's a lot more authors like Richard A. Knock. He wrote a few of the Warcraft books.
Yeah.
Now, you are 13 years old, and this looks like a serious book. So, who are you targeting at when you wrote this book?
The audience?
You know? Your reader.
I'm generally targeting like the young adults between anywhere from maybe 10 to 30 around there. Anyone who generally really likes fantasy books.
People like Will.
Like me, that's right, yes.
Enjoy it,
So I guess, you know, you're the, what is it, the Christopher Paolini of Malaysia. Is this going to be a trilogy or a quadrilogy or a 7-part? Or is it going to be like Wheel of Time, which never stops? I mean, how many books do you think are going to be coming in series?
Not sure yet as of now, but I know there's a few more books to come.
There's a few more in you, right?
I left a bit of a surprise in the end part, you know, just like to include another book if it's successful.
Great.
It's still too young to ask you, of course, 13 years old, not fair, I think, to ask anybody, but then what would you like to be when you leave school and go to college? What interests you, writing or something else?
Actually, the writing was just my hobby.
Right, so
I'm hoping to like do well in school so I can get into a good university or college, and so after that, I'm hoping to come back to Malaysia and take part in politics. I actually love politics.
Oh,
wow,
politics.
great.
I find it really interesting.
Oh, really? Well, with your imagination, I'm sure you'll go far.
That's right. Well, a lot of politics is actually creative writing, but, you know...
Creative license.
Well, creative, yes, or creative something.
Thank you so much, Adam Umemoto, for coming in to, you know, share with us your thoughts.
That's right. And when the movie comes out, if there's a role of a dashing prince, please let me know. I'd probably be more than happy to. Yes, and I think if there's an orc that we can ask Daphne to take part, she'd love to play an orc.
Yes, I know.
Okay,
so much.
and this is in bookstores now, yeah?
Yeah, it'll be in, it's not in bookstores yet.
Not yet?
I'll have the book opening this week, actually, Saturday.
Whereabouts?
And the One World Hotel near Wanatama.
That's right.
Really?
And the book will be sold, I think, after March 10th in MPH.
And how much is it retailing at?
The price, I think, I'm not 100% sure yet.
Not
Still
exactly
deciding.
sure. Never mind.
But you know what? You can never spend too much on books, so that's a good thing.
True. And thank you so much. You've given us signed copies as well. So
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adam.